I never thought I'd be the guy with the HOA Karen story, but here we are. My name is Michael. I moved into Oak Ridge Estates 18 months ago. It's a beautiful neighborhood, run with military precision by one woman, Karen Wilcox. Karen didn't view the HOA bylaws as guidelines, they were her personal manifesto. Her silver bob and neon pink violation notices were the symbols of impending doom in our community. My first run-in happened 3 days after I moved in. A citation for my garbage bins being visible 2 hours after collection. Aggressive handwriting. Section 12.3. I complied, but it was too late. I was on the radar. Over the next year, she cited me for grass being half an inch too tall, holiday lights going up 3 days early, and the north-facing blue door incident. She actually called an emergency meeting, because my door was regulation blue number 5 instead of number 4. That's when I realized Karen didn't just love the rules. She needed to own the people who followed them. The real trouble started last Tuesday. My mother, who's 72 and dealing with health issues, came to visit. That evening, she went pale. She had chest pains. She couldn't catch her breath. I didn't hesitate, I called 911. The dispatcher told me help was coming. I opened the front door so the paramedics could get in fast. And that's when I heard it. That grating nasal tone that had become the soundtrack to my nightmares. Excuse me, what exactly do you think you're doing? I ran outside. Karen was standing in my driveway, next to my mom's car. My mom's having chest pains, Karen. I called an ambulance, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs. She didn't even blink. Section 8.7, Michael. Residents are limited to 2 vehicles in the driveway. This is a third vehicle. Move it immediately or face a violation. I was speechless. Karen, this is an emergency. My mother needs a doctor. Rules don't stop being rules during personal situations, she replied, tapping her clipboard. The longer it stays, the higher the fine. Then, I heard the sirens. Relief, pure, cold relief, washed over me. But as I turned to go back to my mom, I heard a car door slam. I watched in absolute horror as Karen backed her white Mercedes SUV directly behind my mother's car. She effectively deadlocked my driveway. "What are you doing?" I screamed. My calm facade finally shattered. Karen stepped out with a look of pure, smug triumph. "I'm staying right here until you comply with community guidelines. I've asked nicely. Now I'm enforcing." The ambulance pulled up to the curb. There was no way for them to get the stretcher up the drive. 2 paramedics jumped out, looking at the standoff like they'd stepped into a fever dream. "Ma'am, we need to get to the patient," the paramedic shouted. "Move your vehicle." Karen lifted her chin. "Not until Section 8.7 is satisfied. I am the president. I have a responsibility." The paramedic didn't argue. He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, we have an individual blocking emergency access. Requesting police assistance. Code 3. They ran through the yard with their bags while Karen shouted about lawn maintenance violations. Inside, my mother was stable but in distress. The paramedics were working on her when the second set of sirens arrived. I walked outside to find 2 police officers trying to reason with her. Karen was quoting bylaws verbatim, subsection and all. "Ma'am, you are obstructing emergency services," the officer said, his hand moving toward his belt. "Move. Now." Karen's face went deep red. "I am preventing a violation of contractually agreed upon standards. Do you know how property values suffer when?" Final warning, the officer cut in. And then, Karen made the mistake that ended her 8-year reign. She looked that officer in the eye and said, "I will not move until proper HOA protocols are followed. If you want this vehicle moved, you'll need to file a formal request with the board." The officers didn't say another word. They just looked at each other. The sound of the handcuffs clicking was the most beautiful thing I have ever heard. Karen's expression shifted from smug certainty to pure, unadulterated shock. "You're arresting me? Do you know who I am? I've been president for 8 years. "Ma'am," the officer said as he guided her toward the patrol car, "you're being arrested for obstruction of emergency services and interfering with medical personnel. You have the right to remain silent." The entire neighborhood was on their porches. No one was hiding their satisfaction. We watched as they moved her Mercedes, finally allowing the paramedics to bring my mother out on the stretcher. Karen was screaming about conspiracies and property values as they pushed her head down into the back of the cruiser. The fallout was swift. The body cam footage made the local news. The headline read, "HOA President Blocks Ambulance Over Parking Rule." 3 days later, we had a real emergency meeting. The board voted unanimously to remove her. The vice president announced she was facing criminal charges, jail time, and a civil lawsuit from the county. When Karen walked into that final meeting, she expected to reclaim her throne. Instead, she was handed a formal letter of removal. Her hands shook so hard the paper rattled. "This is a violation," she sputtered, her voice finally cracking. "You can't. I am the HOA." The room stayed silent. Nobody looked at her. Nobody checked their clipboards. My mom is doing great now. She's back home, recovering. And as for me, I repainted my front door. It's not blue number 4 or number 5. It's a bright, vibrant, non-regulation red. And every time I look at it, I think of the sound of those handcuffs.